absentee chair. All right. Meeting is being live streamed.
So official.
Oh, right.
It's honestly, this was a lot of fun when we had the LARPers from Hawkeye. I just have to mute the YouTube feed because it's like Scream. It's like a 30-second delay.
Oh,
and
That's good.
You'll hear yourself. So yeah, I'm gonna okay, so that's good. We got that. I'll be like intermittently like posting this and just making sure everybody knows. But let's just start right off the bat. Whoever wants to go first. I know you guys are returning, but let our listeners and our watchers know who you are and what you do.
Oh, watchers as well?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Does it look like it's about 900 degrees in my apartment right now?
No, you look straight up angelic.
Thank you for filters. I put a little Vaseline. We're just gonna.
I was wondering what the KY was for. You're just like smudging it around the lens.
Just smudge it just where you need it. Look, I'm in the 40s. I need all the little help I can get. I'm like a pitcher in the major leagues.
Oh, bullshit. Come on now.
Every possible trick you can use. Just soften the edges a little bit. I like
it looked like a BBC show from like 1995 where everyone just like looks like they're shot through a block of cheese.
Yeah, for like moonlighting. Sybil Shepherd always had that, just like that.
Oh, yes.
About her.
It's like Pride and Prejudice 5.
Yes, if we can get
Crueler Intentions
this as well.
This is gonna be dorky. Do you both have a beverage?
Water.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Just preliminary check-ins. I should have asked that first. Are
we supposed to have one?
I mean, I wouldn't want to get dry mouthed when tens of people
I thought you meant
are
like
watching.
Alcoholic beverages. Like, was that any anticipation? We're supposed to be drunk for this?
Well, I don't know. I keep an eye on Katie. She's a sneaky one. She has one of those wristband flasks.
I can't smell or taste anything, so I don't know what's actually in the water bottle.
Oh, so you have the full-blown symptoms too.
I had the full-on.
Oh my God, dude.
COVID. Yeah. Like I said, I avoided it for 2.5 years, and it was just I realized I wasn't avoiding it; it was just stalking me and waiting for me because it was ready to go when I finally got it. I mean, it like just both barrels.
Oh, buddy!
I got the whole thing. Yeah, which is a really weird sensation when you can't taste or smell. Like people are like, "Oh my God, I'd lose so much weight because you just don't want to eat." I'm like, well, I still have to eat, but you can still get. At least I could still get like my flavor receptors were there, so I could taste like bitter and salty and sweet and things like that. I just couldn't get like, so it came down to texture and kind of like the basic flavors. So you don't want broccoli in that situation, and like you don't want lettuce. Like I still wanted like chips because I could feel it and taste that it was salty. And so but it was and then all of a sudden you start worrying about like, oh, if there's a fire, I can't smell it, or I can't. It's like these really weird. You only have 5 senses, and you lose 2 of them, and you realize like, oh yeah, it's good to have as many as you can. And it's a really like if I was cooking something, I'm like, I can't take my eye off this because if it starts to burn, I don't know.
It's maybe like a gas leak or something. You just like.
I know. And my dog is zero help. He's not one of those like emergency alert dogs of anything. I mean, if anything, he would just put a pillow over my face if he could. There's no help to me. So I was like, well, I mean, Thelma and Louise did, like, we're going down together, buddy. There's whatever it's going to take here. It's really weird. And that still hasn't come back yet. It's really weird.
Oh,
I heard it might take a hot second for that to fully return, but luckily you've passed the like cavernous route and now you're going towards the flowing plains of peace. What the fuck am I saying?
Wow. I hope so. I hope for all of us listeners and viewers.
I was gonna say let's redact that, but we're
why would we redact that?
You can't redact it. Too late.
Can you tell it's been a really long week/day, probably for all of us. Like, I assume you guys more than me, but you get goofy. You just kind of let it go. But Cait,
most of the interaction I've had for 10 days. So this is great.
Yeah, no one has FaceTimed you or hung out with you virtually.
No one as cool as you guys.
Oh dear.
Well,
we're moving through the cavern into the plain and the grassy knoll and the peaceful times.
God,
The grassy
it's not
knoll.
going away.
Yes, peaceful. That's the first thing I think of when I think of peaceful.
Well, Cait, how are you doing? Because I think we're just creating a whole mythos now for this live stream.
I can taste and smell, so I'm doing really good, actually.
Oh, way to brag, dude.
I'm in Florida right now, so that's why it's like so bright and sunny where you guys are, and I'm in nighttime here. So.
Oh my God, I feel like a dick now. I should have scheduled it for earlier. I didn't know. What are you doing in Florida?
I'm dog sitting, house sitting. So I've got like this very strange dog that is next to me right now. And yeah, I'm just like hanging out in the house eating pizza. I just ate 4 slices of pizza before this, so I'm feeling great.
For you.
Oh hell
Thank you.
Can you tell me about the pizza?
It had red peppers and sun-dried tomatoes and feta and like hot stuff because I like spicy. Yeah, it was a good day. It was a good day. That's it. That's what's with me.
That's it. That's all that's been going on. Yeah, I sent like I have to bring over my list now of stuff I was gonna talk about for topics. Not like we need topics, but just something for structure.
Yeah, no,
it's so much fun. Who doesn't love structure?
Structure is I don't mind structure because if I don't have structure, I'm just aimless and.
Yeah, when there was like the turn towards, I've done some interviews like before I was writing, but it was like the ones where you have to record yourself and you're not getting, and I've done some pitches also over Zoom, which there's like a couple people in the room and you're pitching and you just don't have the same cues that if you're in the room with people, like there's the more subtle, like, uh-huhs and so it's like, how long have I been talking? Like because you're not getting there's not as much give and take. And especially the ones like the interviews or something where you have to record yourself. Like when there's no other human that's giving you feedback that you've been going on too long, odds are you've been going on too long. So I do like some parameters.
Yes, Tyler, keep us in line.
Oh, I will. That's why I wear the official shirt.
Ask Master.
I'm just gonna refer to my notes here. Yep. So, Cait and Katie, what sort of summer writing have you been doing outside of work?
Well, we just wrapped on season 3 of Mythic Quest like 2 weeks ago. It ended up being a little bit longer than I had anticipated it being, just because there was a bunch of stuff that was going on. So we ended up kind of kicking the final episode, which was the episode that I wrote. So I was still kind of in the mix for longer than I had anticipated with that. So really, I've only been on summer vacation for like 2 weeks, and 10 days of that I've had COVID.
Oh God.
So,
Terrific.
I know. But doing, I have a couple projects that are lined up that will start soon. So I was hoping to get some of my own stuff done in the interim. Just working on writing a feature, which is really fun. Just it's such a different beast than any of the the writer's room stuff. So that's been really fun. Yeah. And because I was doing the 2 other jobs are feature rewrites. So it's kind of nice to like read over the thing that I'm going to be like rewriting and then applying that to what I'm writing for myself, where it's like, oh, I can see where this is lagging. So I want to make sure I don't do that in my own writing, or it's, well, that really works. Like that pacing is really good. Let me just wholesale steal that. And, kind of it helps kind of keep me in line. And because I'm figuring a lot of the stuff out on my own, it's nice to kind of have some like, oh, people bought this script, so it's a good script. So that's a good kind of guideline to follow. And then applying it to my own stuff, which has been really like instructive and kind of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. You've been busy, even with COVID.
Yeah.
Cait, what about you?
Like Katie, I was in the room until about 3 weeks ago, and we just wrapped season 2 of Reacher. And so I just polished up a pilot I've been working on and sent that to the parties that be. And now I'm just hanging out eating pizza. So so yeah, so it's been so it's been about 3 weeks of summer. And I did have COVID about 3 weeks ago. So I think this is a pattern.
Yeah.
It's like you wait till your body knows, like, oh, okay, I can actually sleep. So
that's historically that was true, because I was a teacher for a long time, and that 100% happened. That like anytime it was a Christmas break, spring break, first week of summer, you would just get laid out. And I think it's like you just your body kind of knows it has a second to think about it, and you shouldn't think about it because that's what comes for you.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the smell and the taste, like, are you feeling okay right now?
Yeah, I didn't get like the flu end of things. I had more like the cough, sore throat side.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider myself lucky. I know some people that really had some kind of scary flu symptoms. So I avoided that. So I was getting a little cocky. And then it was like, oh yeah, hold on, we're not done with you. We're just getting started, baby. we got weeks of this. So I'm the only one of like the group that, you know, kind of got, as I was saying to Tyler, that I got it from my mom. So it's a blessing. So she kind of had a little bit closer to this, but didn't lose smell and taste. It's been interesting, but it does make, I don't know if my other senses are compensating. I haven't gotten that. There's no like heightened ability to do much of anything except but it just made me kind of rethink like the world. I think I have a different kind of appreciation than I would have. It's interesting when you're like, the inside of my house and outside is similar. Like I can't smell the difference between being inside and being outside, and you don't realize how much information you get just from that. It's really weird, and you don't notice how much that impacts you until you don't have it. Yeah, it's everything is just kind of like neutral.
Yeah,
weird.
Oh,
give me a sec. I think I thought I was gonna have the house to myself. I'll be right back.
Oh dear. This is live, right? The beauty of live TV.
Are you Cait? Are you Catherine? Are you
Caitlin?
Caitlin.
But everyone spells the name with every vowel but the correct ones. So I just was like, what if I just chop off the Lynn?
Yeah.
It's not the most conventional spelling. I mean, you're a Katie. So is Katie, is that short for Catherine or
Kathleen?
Kathleen. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess there's multiple ways to spell Kathleen, right? Do you ever get like people like just completely butchering your name?
I mean, it's funny because I'm from Philly, so there's a lot of, they throw extra letters in things, and I mean,
really,
we're famous for our water, so yeah, we get all kinds of stuff. But Kathleen is a lot of times how, like, especially in South Philly, you'll get a lot of Kathleen. It's just weird emphasis stuff that go on, but I don't know anybody that calls me Kathleen. So it was one of those, like, they should have, then they knew my parents knew it was going to be Katie. So they should have just cut out the middleman on that one. But
yeah, that seems like a societal peer pressure to add the Thleen on there.
Yeah, I mean, it was named after a nun. So Sister Catherine.
Wonderful.
I think she's still with the order. I don't know if she because my mom was going to go into the convent, and my dad was a priest, or was in the seminary. So
Interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, it didn't take for either of them.
I should hope. I mean,
yeah. That's a much better story if it had. But
yeah, that's a whole film / book series to come.
Yeah, and that's how altar boys are made.
Oh dear.
Some unholy holy union.
Is this a tease for the next season of It's Always Sunny?
I mean, anytime you start getting in the weird territory, it's always like, well, you might as well jot it down. Who knows?
The weird is the best. That's we live in the weird, right? Like, can we all say we're weirdos?
100%. Yeah,
I would think so. Yeah.
I see. I didn't like that like split second hesitancy, so I got really self-conscious for a second.
Because I don't know if I'm cool enough to be a weirdo.
I'd say
I'm also
you are.
like, how much do I want to admit to being a weirdo in terms of like what's like according to who am I a weirdo? You know?
Yeah.
True. But like
Yeah.
but like a good weirdo, not like don't talk to that guy, he's a weirdo. No, it's like, nah, she's a weirdo. Like just actually, was there any like I'm gonna keep drinking my liquid death, not sponsored.
Perfect.
Well, that's funny that liquid that came up a lot in the Mythic Quest writers room.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, have you had it?
I had. It's good.
It's so good.
I like it. It's like, I don't know. It's like spiky but smooth. I don't know. It's weird because I was like, how can it be different from any of the other things that are out there? But it is.
Exactly. Like, Cait, have you ever had this?
No, is that like the new writer room drink du jour? It seems like every like 2 or 3 years there's like a new drink that fills all the fridges, and then a new fad comes along, and then there's a whole new drink
and takes it away.
Well, this one, I mean, bless like writers assistants and writers room people, because we talked about it a bunch, so it just kept coming up, and then it kind of shows up because I think it's like, you know, the person who's like helping with the writers room is like, oh, they talked about it, so here it is, and like being good at their job, and you're like, oh, and we're like, you know, we were kind of joking about it because it's aggressive. Like the marketing, reading the side of that is like, it's aggressive. It's like somebody like dragged death out into a valley and ripped its throat. It's like, okay.
It's
what is it?
It's water.
Just sparkling water. It is ingredients, mountain water and CO2.
And I'm but it's the kind of brand that I'm surprised it's not like water, CO2, and like enrage. Or some kind of like an existential crisis.
Yeah, because the side of it is insane. It almost reads as a confession.
Yes.
It's
like
that
the artwork is full of it feels like very like skateboard culture inspired. I think like Joe Manganiello is a big investor. Like that, but it's very much like,
Can you tell my last 3 rooms have been Zoom rooms, so I don't know like what's hip with the kids anymore. I'm so out of the loop.
Well, then what's in your kitchen? What are you putting in your fridge to supply your writing?
I don't know, like Brita water. Like I'm very like anti, like I'm just like, yeah, cool, I'll just get something from the tap and then I'll just sip that all day, and like I'm so out of the loop with that stuff. I always have been. So, but now I'm like, especially like I used to at least know what everyone was drinking, but now I'm like, I don't know anymore.
You're out of it.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, I put a splash of cranberry juice in my water today. There's no bubbles. I'm just very,
I need you to calm down with that. Okay. Like that is a gateway to sangria, alcohol-free sangria.
I know. I'm a real badass, aren't I?
You are a badass.
How were your Zoom rooms going?
Good. I mean, Zoomy. I don't know. Like, you know, there's pro. You know, I like the commute. It's fantastic. And I like being able to just go like this at the end of the day, and I'm home. But you know, it's like, it's a little weird. It's like you don't get the same sort of vibe in like a in-person room. You don't get the sidebars, like people are talking over each other. It's a little awkward, but you know, I'd say the pros slightly outweigh the cons in my experience, but like, yeah, I mean, you're missing that, like that je ne sais quoi, like with an in-person room. But
how many people are in the Reacher room?
This past season, I'm really bad at math. I want to say, including the showrunner, there was like 7 of us. 7 writers, and then of course you have like, you know, like the writer's assistant and the script coordinator were in there too. But so yeah. But season 1 was 4. Sorry.
As I said it, I was like, Reacher room sounds like a bar I shouldn't go to.
Hey.
I was like, as I said, I was like, that doesn't. I don't know that.
I was so proud of you. You didn't say anything.
I was like,
I don't. You get used to it. Yeah. First you're like, when you first hear it, you're just like, Reacher, I hardly know her, and then like after 2 years of it, you're like, whatever. I don't like I've been there, done that. Like, So Katie, how long have you guys been in person?
I've been in person basically through the whole pandemic. I mean, we're figuring it out. I mean, so I did, season of Sunny and Mythic Quest were both in person. We had a brief stint where we did Zoom for season 3 because it was right around Christmas when Omicron was happening, and when Omicron was happening. So we were like, and it was right after Christmas, so everybody had been traveling, so we did Zoom for about 2 weeks, and then came back in person. So we just tested a bunch, and everybody was very locked down and respectful of each other, and it's a small enough room that you're kind of keeping tabs on everybody, and we just did our best, and we're able to kind of move through the whole writer's room and the whole season without any shutdowns, which is really great.
Great.
Wow.
Yeah, we were fortunate. And for Sunny, that was last summer, and it was the sweet spot where like everybody was vaccinated and Delta hadn't happened yet. So there was that like glorious couple weeks where we were all invincible, and it was great.
The false spring. Yes.
It was like our false Rumspringa. And they had, you could just tell, like by the end of, while that room was kind of wrapping up, it was like a 10-week room or something. And as it was kind of wrapping up, and now you've got more production folks are coming in. So we were already, being a little bit more cautious. And then like numbers were starting to creep up, and we got out just like right before it exploded. But we were lucky enough to be able to kind of make it through. Changed all of our plans for the season because we were supposed to go to Ireland, and that didn't happen. So yeah, I know, it was so sad. But yeah, so we've been fortunate to kind of be, so I've had a little bit of the Zoom experience, but mostly we've been in person, which has been really great.
So I'm curious with the differences that you guys have experienced, Katie, you working in person for most of the pandemic, and then Cait, you working through like a Zoom room. How are those hours differing? I mean, either one, maybe Cait, if you want to go first, but if there's any difference from, being in person, you guys have to obviously be there probably 8 or 9 in the morning, then go as long as you can. With the Zoom meetings, Cait, is that flexible? Are you guys up throughout the entire day meeting at certain points? Like that's always something I've been, curious about, the sort of time frame. Is it a 9 to 5, or is it we'll get it done by this deadline, and if we don't, then I guess you're fired? Like what's the breakdown of that?
When we were in person, we're about, I mean, you're cute with your 8. There's no 8.
Oh yeah.
Like
I thought that'd be fun to throw in.
Yeah, we're 10, which is really great because you feel like you get, I wake up early, so I feel like I had a full day before I even have to be at work. Because most of the people in our room have kids and they're dropping people off and doing all that. So 10, just everyone kind of comes in and their day is started. So we're about 10 to 6 for the most part. And we're just, I just haven't worked on shows that are egregious in their expectation of how late people are staying. So there's times where especially towards the end, where you're, it would be 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock. But that's very few and far between. When we were on Zoom, I think because everyone knew it was kind of temporary, we were a little bit looser with it, but still you only have so much bandwidth for being on Zoom. So we would kind of do, we would have like a full group huddle in the morning of still kind of around 10. And then we would, break off into smaller rooms and do what we needed to do. And kind of like, but it was harder because you just have to wait until your showrunner would jump into the room and pitch things. So it was like, well, they're doing something else. So I guess we break for lunch and then come back, and, a lot of like side texting for coordination, but you kind of make it work. And then the days I think were shorter. There was more outside work that I did with that, where it's like, I'll just do it. I just have to have it in before 10 tomorrow or whatever. So I did a little bit more outside work that would normally just happen in the room. But for the most part, the day itself was shorter Zoom wise. I don't know if you had the same experience, Cait.
Yeah, kind of exactly the same. 10 to 6, hour for lunch. Showrunner keeps getting pulled out to like for meetings and calls and all this. So it's just like reconvene in 10, like sure. And yeah, I mean, so much of it depends on who's running the room too. Because you hear stories of people being in rooms like till 9, 10 o'clock. But like, it seems like we had a similar situation with like you know, the people running the room were like very like, we're done by 6, whatever. Like, I think I can count on one hand the number of days we went past 6. So, yeah, but I've also worked with this boss before in person, and it was the same in person as well. It was very like, go home, see your families. You know, you want a boss that loves their families. That's the key.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Or has outside hobbies and interests.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very-
People that are like curmudgeons that like don't want to leave. You're like, just like that's like a good like question to ask the person if you're interviewing for a job in a room.
Absolutely.
Just be like, tell me about your family. Like, and if they're like, then you're like, oh no, we're gonna be working till midnight.
Yeah, like,
No.
just out of curiosity, does anyone miss you when you're gone? I don't know. I mean, just like,
You have friends?
Yeah, what's your like, what's your social situation? Do you like
Yeah. Do you do any like trivia teams at night? Like, are you gonna be like, is this your life right here?
And it is consuming, obviously, as a showrunner. I did the I don't know if you've done this, Cait, the WGA showrunner crash course.
I have not. I've seen it. I've read about it. I'm terrified of it, but I'll get to it.
It is a thing. So it was like one of the slides that they put up. Basically, the first, it was like a, I don't know, 3-hour thing or 4-hour thing or whatever, and like the first half of it is just scaring you into never wanting to be a showrunner, and it feels like by design. That's the thing. So one of the slides that they put up is like the Scream, like not the Scream movie, but like the monk,
Edward Monk. Yeah.
That, and the quote underneath it is, being a showrunner is like being beaten to death by your dreams. And I was like, what is happening? And in the beginning, they were like, like, oh, look, we've got, they're looking at like 1,000 people on this call. Like it was great. And then at the end, when they were saying like, like everyone, just do a little, clap or whatever. And they're like, oh, there are 600 people clapping right now. Like, yeah, because 400 people were like, and nope. Nope. So like, to be a showrunner, I mean, it's more like, it's part of it was a little bit of fear tactic, but also it was very like honest of what's expected of you and all of that. And so it does come down to you and all of that nonsense. But also, it shouldn't be like that for the 20 weeks that you're doing the show. Like I mean, you have to enjoy some of it, or else you're just going to be miserable to everybody. Join a bowling league. Like get an animal that requires your attention. Like something that you need to go home for. I don't know. It can be a scary world out there.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty though, because like that there's not a lot of honesty in this line of work. Like people are very like, yeah. And no, so I like, yeah, like whenever I've had people like ask me about just like what's it like to become an assistant or how do you get a job in this line of work, I'm like very blunt to the point where they're like, oh, good to know. I'm like, trust me, I wish someone had told me all this stuff before I flew out here. I appreciate the honesty, but yeah, but it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be the Scream.
No,
we make it that way.
Yes, and I think some people really like the stress of it. Like there's certain part of that I also enjoy. I do like the occasional like, well, get the menus, we're ordering dinner. Like we gotta figure this out, and we got to, like I like that every once in a while, but I can't make it. It's I don't know. It's never. I'll put everything I have into it, but I can't do that all the time. It's just, like you can have your crunches and you can have your like, all right, we all have to kind of buckle down for the last couple of weeks because things are kind of in motion or when they're filming your script or whatever, and you're getting, you just got a lot going on. That's fun and that's exciting, but it's fun and exciting because it's novel. You can't live your life like that.
No. Like it's fun to be productive and like know you did a good job and you busted ass and like you're like we did this, we accomplished this, we earned this. But also life's too short to live that way every day.
I was thinking about, I mean, and this is, I don't want to sound like it's like at cross purposes, because I think what we do is important, and I think it's a great job, and I love it. But I think that I was thinking about like Fleabag. I loved Fleabag. Season 2, I think, was like perfect television.
Season 2, so good.
And I mean, so good. This gets turned into the Fleabag podcast, but It's like everyone, like all the awards, all the everything. I mean, all anybody could talk about. Everyone was watching it. All I wanted to talk about was that. It's incredible. I had toyed with dressing up as Phoebe Waller-Bridge in that picture with her with the margaritas and the Emmys and the cigarette for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. And I mean, come on, just incredible. But then you move on, and then there's like the next big thing that's kind of happening, and then that's like it's still one of those things like, oh yeah, that was great, but it still goes away. It's still, even though it's durable, it's also ephemeral. Like so it's your whole life until it's not. So then you still have to have a life to go back to. It's like any relationship you ever get in, where like you don't lose yourself completely. You still have to, have your own interests and your own life outside of this should be a part of your life and an important part, but it shouldn't be your whole life. Maybe that's naive of me to think that, and I'm still in a position to have that, but I don't know. I also have had good showrunners that seem to have that balance that, that you can do a lot. You can't do it all, but you can do a lot and be happy.
Yeah. That's the key to, like, whether it's at work or outside of work or whatever, but like you said, balance. Like that is just the key to life right there. Like you just, yeah, that's it. That's it, Tyler.
Balance, that's it.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, you gotta have a little bit of everything, and that's just the key to survival. And yeah.
Because you have to have stuff to write about.
Yeah.
And I think even more so, like from the writer side of things, I mean, showrunning can get into just like you have to know a little bit about everything that's going on, and you're just constantly getting bombarded, and surround yourself with good people that can help carry that load for you. But you need to be able to write about stuff, and to be able to write about stuff, you need to be living life. And so like you have to go on the vacation, and you have to have a relationship, then good, bad, or otherwise. And it doesn't always have to be romantic, but relationships to people, because that's what makes interesting characters. And if you're not having any of them because you're just at work, and there were some weeks for season 3 of this season that it got a little prickly, and it was a little bit difficult. And I found myself like talking about it too much, where I was like, this isn't, I'm boring. Like, I don't want to be the person who's just talking about work all the time, regardless of what that work is. Like, I need to be able to do other stuff to be able to, have other stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you brought it up, Cait. Balance is completely important in all aspects of life. Hence, balance. God, that was ridiculous. We went right full circle. But the idea of using your experiences in your writing, which is something we've talked about, both of you, like in our previous episodes, about incorporating those experiences. So is there a shift, or is there a proper balance of your experiences in life that you bring into your writing? Like, do you tend to stem from relationships into your writing, or experiences traveling, or experiences on the highway? Like, is there not a preference, but do you see a heavier footing on one end over the other when it comes to your personal experiences when you're pushing that into writing for these characters?
Well, I mean, yeah, you've got to, I mean, it depends so much on the situation, who you're writing and what you're writing. It's I'm trying to think.
Sorry, I just dropped that.
Short answer is yes. I mean, you got it, but it was like, I mean, I guess just to be more specific, like, I guess with Reacher, like trying to write him, it's like, you have to draw from personal experiences to identify, like how am I going to identify with this like ex-military monster? But then it's like, you're like, okay, well, we both moved around a lot as a kid, like total instability growing up, like awkward around people. Just like you sort of tap into like the common human experiences, and that you do that, like no matter who you're writing, even if you're writing like this horrible villain character, everyone has some sort of core experience that you can sort of relate to, even if it's just a trip or like a relationship, like you said, like, whether it's a family relationship or a romantic relationship, friends, school, whatever. There's always some common ground you can tap into. And the more experiences you have, the deeper the wells you can draw from. So yeah, like, I mean, I think, Katie, I think this is a really good sort of like excuse to to just, for vacations. Like, it's like, oh, but I got to do this thing. I got to go to Disney World. I got to go to Europe. I got to go to Asia because it's going to really help my career. But like, no, but it does. Like, it really does. Like, even if you don't realize it in the moment.
Because I think we're just open to the observation of all of it. I mean, because it's not even that I'm always writing my own experiences. I'm writing what I've observed in other people or advice I've given, or, where it's like, oh, I can, if even the like, if I was that person, I would do this differently, even if that's not really the case, because you can't make those kinds of choices for other people, but it still forces you to think about it in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. So you need to be in community with people, and you need to stretch yourself a little bit and kind of see what happens. And I know from teaching preschool as well, that what's so interesting about small children is that they're just so good at identifying that, like, I am mad, I am sad, I am happy, I am, like, they have the words for it because they don't complicate it with all this other stuff. Whereas, like, I'm looking at it and it's like, I'm fine. Or like, you didn't do the dishes. And it's like, all right, well, I'll do the dishes. No, it's not about the dishes. It's like, no, let's dial it back. When really, like, I feel that you don't respect my time is really what I'm mad about, not about the dishes. And like, it feels like, I'm taken for granted or whatever it is. And like, kids figure that out real fast. Like, you knocked down my tower, therefore I am mad. And like, okay, it's very cause and effect. And they can get to that really quickly because their world is just smaller. And once we start like slapping, scaffolding and building it out, it looks like it's more complicated, but it's not. It's still the basic thing of like, I'm lonely, or I am sad, or I don't relate to people, or, and it's like, okay, I don't relate to people. Go down another layer of like, because I don't feel like they understand me, or, whatever that is. And that's just basic human condition. And there's just not that, it's just not that complicated. And there's just not that much of it. We're all pretty much the same. It's just our operating system looks a little different, but most of it's like pretty basic. And once you tap into that, then you can start getting creative with how it presents, but it's all basically the same, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, the more you experience, the more you realize how similar like all people are on certain levels. Like, you can travel the world and you can see completely different cultures, ideologies, like everything. But then you just realize it's like the more different we are, like the more you see how similar we all are. And that lends itself to not just being a better person and being better at dealing with other people, but it goes into the writing as well.
Absolutely. Because that's just motivations. And you can, then you dress it up and you make it fun and novel and exciting for people because you twists and turns. But like, it's still this, I'm mad because you knocked down my tower. And like, okay, so what is the tower? What is the thing? And why are you still so bad? So it's all the same hurts and joys and all of that. I think, our wiring gets set pretty young, and there's just not that many wires. It's like they get jumbled and they get knotted and stuff like that, but there's only just so many. We're pretty simple creatures when it comes down to it, and then we just complicate it.
I would never have thought you were ever a teacher. You're just you're amazing at just breaking these things down and giving these proper analogies and metaphors for it that I'm like fully tuned in.
That's therapy, smoke, and mirrors. The more I talk about it, the less I have to do it myself.
You're just completely deflecting, right?
Batman, yeah.
Well, that's being somebody who's not a professional writer. I don't work for a writer's room. I do my own thing. I just like hearing, how different writers perceive different experiences or the approach to writing. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you two together for a live stream, is sitting down with both of you. It was just like, it'd be a really great conversation. Like, have you noticed I've sat here and just let you guys go? Like, it's perfect. I don't have to do anything.
Oh no, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I've noticed that you haven't done much.
With the structure you were promising so early on.
Hey, I built the foundation. The Eiffel Tower is up, but the bolts aren't sealed tight. That's on you guys. No, It is, I think there's a shared sort of approach that all writers collaborate within when it comes to just acknowledging people, observing people, and kind of holding that with us. And this summer, honestly, or I guess the last 2 years, there have been so many experiences throughout the world that you can really draw from personally, but also like while watching other people. So I feel like there's just a whole, do you feel like there's a whole load of new characters and new situations that you're going to put into a script because of X, Y, or Z, which I won't mention Z because Z sucks, but like it's just there is I don't know about you. I feel a deeper connection with other people now than I did 2 years ago, with the way that everything has kind of blown up in various facets. Have you guys felt that way? Am I getting too philosophical with my liquid death?
I mean, I felt the opposite, that I felt further away from people than I did before, because it's just, I mean, it kind of coming out of all of this, I just realized that like I kind of have to rebuild my social network, because living in Los Angeles was just kind of a transient city anyway. And I haven't been here that long. That I worked really hard to get friends and my places I'd like to go and all of that. And then anybody who was ever thinking of leaving a city left at some point during the pandemic. So now it feels like coming back into relationships has been a little bit tricky for me, of like, I got to rebuild a little bit, and I have to kind of make these new connections. And this is an interesting thing. I come from a big family where, we're huggers and all of that. And so I don't have any like touch issues, but I was out for like one of the first times that we were kind of like back into the world. And I was out with a friend that I'd only met over Zoom. It was somebody it was a general meeting, and then we became friends. And then we were like, we should get dinner. And we're talking, and she's sitting next to me, and her fiance sitting across from us. And she was excited about something and tapped me on the shoulder, and I flinched. And it was, and she, not so much that she noticed, but I noticed. And I was like, okay, maybe I was just surprised by and then it happened again. And I was like, that's never been me, that I physically had a reaction, because you weren't touched much in 2 years. I mean, that's the whole other conversation, but that's like, where, but that was a weird thing so that kind of stuff was like, oh, that's interesting, that it did something, like it changed something in me that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So like things like that, I think will be interesting kind of color moving forward with some of the writing, just like that kind of relationship stuff, and like having to rebuild again. And then, like being like, do I want to though? I don't know. We'll see. Not really use my own company. I don't know.
Cait, what about you? No segue.
Well, you're saying about like new characters and like new like.
Well, yeah, like I guess what I was trying to say before is because I've been working in the service industry, so I've found this empathy for so many people in various ways that like Kay, what you were saying, you felt the opposite. Like there's been I'm dealing with people in the public on a daily basis, but then if you're like working in a room with the same people, I could see how it's harder to kind of like expand that network and find quality relationships or friendships with people. So I think I was just taking it back to, how are you feeling intrinsically with your relationship to other people when it comes to that sort of feed with your writing? Do you feel like it's more of a writing of, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to project, or I'm honing in this like weird tension this guy on the bus is giving me to kind of weave into this next scene? Like it's such a weird thing to ask, but it just, I don't know, I thought I'd bring it out into the fore.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, because the weird thing about like how everyone has been acting crazy, and you especially being out there in the service industry, like, my God, you are doing like the work of the champions. Like I did that for years. And so anytime someone is like, oh yeah, I work in the service industry, I just like, I'm not even Catholic, but I immediately just like, man, to do that. like some like, bless you, my child. But no, I mean, to me, it's like almost solidified how predictable humans are. Like there's so many patterns. Like everyone's like, it's unprecedented times. And it's like, well, yes, like the pandemic is definitely a thing, but it's also like, if you look at human history as a whole, it's not a new thing. And it's like, yep, that's what we did last time. That's what we did last time. And it's just sort of is like, everyone's always alarmed by like, oh, people are so different now. I'm like, but are they though? If anything, it's like we've just revealed the thing that has been dormant in us all this time. And it just like, I don't know. I've gotten really good at predicting. Like, I feel like the last 2.5 years, it's been like, there's a new wave. And then, okay, everything's dropping down again. The numbers are dropping. Then there's another wave. And I'm like, it's like, let me guess, this is going to happen. Then this is going to happen. Then that's going to happen. And then everything's going to shut down again. And it always does. So, if anything, I feel like I've taken a higher dose of crazy pills because I'm like, how have you not learned? But, you know, that's just human nature. As for personal relationships, I don't know. Like, you know, my friends and I have certainly more split up, and it's like, it's so weird to like go from like not seeing all the people you usually see for 2 years, and then you like jump back into it. Cause it's like, oh, like they have a kid now, that person's married now, that person's single now, like, and the whole dynamics shift. So yeah. And also just like you're apart and then like, bam, 2 years, like you've all aged 2 years, but like I don't know.
That's
I don't know that the proper answer. I don't have a straight answer for your question.
Hey, it wasn't a straight question.
Yes, people are people and continue to be. I don't know.
I swear that'll be the hardest thing I'll ask you guys all night. I don't know. You get to a point where you're very you get sort of introspective at the end of the day. So that's the hardest thing I will ask of you. Because the next thing, I'm going to go to our structure since we were talking about that.
Right.
And I'm going to ask you for your film and TV favorites of the summer of 2022. Keep in mind, listeners, they have had time to prepare their answers.
I just finished watching Pistols, which is the docuseries on the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Danny Boyle. Mixed reviews. It seemed a little, there was a lot of like big speeches by like 18-year-olds where you're like, all right, I mean, I get it for like narratively moving the story along, but like everything feels kind of like a lesson. Like people are way too smart for their own good, given kind of like what was happening a little bit. It also made me want to change my wardrobe completely because it was like the punk scene in like the late 70s in London, and you're like, oh, I'm very boring. I need to start my game up. So I just watched that, which it was entertaining, again, very, very sad. I mean, it's and also like, oh, I would have been friends with none of these people. And I just started watching, as I'm a little behind, I just started watching Only Murders in the Building, season 1.
Yeah.
I have not, I'm very behind on a lot of things. That's kind of what I started watching. I don't know, I've been playing some video games, so that was mostly my entertainment.
Oh, what kind of video games were you diving into?
I love Diablo 3. That was like a big pandemic game for myself and my ex-husband. We get together and play Diablo 3. And continue to do that, which is really fun. And yeah, just there's a couple games I'm waiting to come out, but that's like my comfort game. That's kind of where I keep going back to, because you just bash everybody to hell. Feel like you have control. That's fun. That's what I'm up to.
That's fair. That sounds like a blast, though. Diablo. I would never have pegged you for a Diablo fan.
It's super fun. Just bash it. Just slaughter of just things, and like I play different characters, so you get like I'm for sure a basher, like just a berserker. Send me in there, close contact, and just let me bash. But I'm starting to finesse myself. I'm a demon hunter right now, and that's also exciting.
That sounds important.
Yeah,
it feels important, and because you've got like, you know, the powers that you need to be able to control some of your powers, whatever, and it's sometimes it's like mana or, or like blessings or whatever. And this one is discipline and hatred. So depending on what you're trying to do, either it taps into your reserve of discipline or your hatred. I'm like, I feel that. That feels very much me right now. Discipline and hatred on a gaming level.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw the air quotes. It's okay.
Yes.
Cait, what about you? What have you been diving into this summer?
I'm finally catching up on The Boys. I have one more episode left. Nothing I say is going to be revelatory or unique. It's just the most generic boilerplate. Like, that's a good show, like Better Call Saul, Barry, Only Murders. Yeah, that's what I've been watching. But they're all really good. Like, there's a reason why people won't shut up about them. There was something else I watched recently, and I'm completely forgetting it. Of course, I know I prepared for this, but yeah, it's real. I haven't seen a lot of movies though. I do want to see if you have any good recs. The last movie I saw was Flea, that like animated documentary.
Oh, wow.
That was good. But yeah, that's I'm open to recs because I'm almost done with most of the shows I'm watching, and Better Call Saul's ending in a few weeks. So
I did watch Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yes, I saw that too. What'd you think?
It was great.
Amazing.
It was great. It was like the right amount of silly at parts, and then it would like wrap back around and be something that we're like, oh, okay, that's really like heartfelt. And it just looking at, I mean, so many setups and so many like just costume changes and quick cuts, and knowing that every one of those is like moving a camera and resetting, and just so anything that was just like a pop in somewhere. I mean, watching it from that perspective, it's like, oh my God. I mean, just such an undertaking, and to have that kind of vision to pull it off was amazing. Just
do you get exhausted watching those kind of things too? Because I do. Like, even like the desert scenes with the rocks, I just was like, somebody had to move a camera out there. They had to do a location scout, trying to find the perfect cliff. And I just feel like I just get like the back, as someone who used to work on set a lot, like doing like set PA stuff and like moving equipment around, I just get like hot when I think about that.
Yeah. And then I turn into that person, like I'm sitting there and I'm like, that scene took 7 hours to do, like that pop shot that they do of like one thing, and you're like, that was a 7-hour situation, and it was
there
like
were 200 people on set, and there was a craft service table, and like
everybody had to get fed, and it's just a pop, and you're like, yep, that's gonna cost you money and time. Labor of love, really good. And then I also saw kind of the sort of the same thing, Top Gun Maverick. So on the basically on the same level. But I was like, I mean, they basically just remade Top Gun. I mean, they just remade it, but why wouldn't you? And I'm in there and I'm like, all right, let's see what you got. And then they started playing Danger Zone, and I was like, yeah! It was so good. I mean, the action sequences of that it knew what it was. Like, it was 80s cheese, but in 2022, and then anything that was flying related was so good. I mean, if you can see it in the theater, absolutely see it in the theater. It was amazing. You can see they're putting G's on that man. He's like he's doing, they're all doing stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, I'm planning on seeing that this week. It's on my list. I found a theater that's still playing it on like a big rumbly Dolby kind of screen.
Oh, hell yes.
Yes.
I mean, it's so good. It's such a popcorn movie. And I mean, they just remade Top Gun down to like, they cast somebody as the pseudo villain who just looks like Val Kilmer, and they do the same thing with it. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you just remade it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it just like that kind of stuff where, I mean, they have Miles Teller like basically dressed. It's just you'll see it and you'll be like, well, yeah, this is like shot for shot the same movie, but then also like, but then like Tom Cruise looking exactly the same as he did. It's wild, but it's I mean, there's a lot of like, son of a bitch, he did it. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm along for the ride. Great. And then I'm like, I mean, I know it's like an elite program, but are they taking 43-year-old women? Because I think that by the end of it, I was like, I think I might have what it takes. I don't.
I think you should give it a shot.
We're good.
Just for the training alone that he made the actors go through, I think you should try that out.
Yeah. No.
You're getting like 6 or 7 G's and you're like vomiting into a bag, but then you have to hang on to it as you're still going. And
I went through the car wash today, and it's one of the ones like that moves around you. And I was like, oh God, no, I'm not moving. The thing is moving. So I don't think this for me. I like put the emergency brake on because I don't trust that it's not moving.
I will say, if you don't leave that theater driving your car like you are Tom Cruise, you didn't have a great experience. Because the second you get in your car, you're just like, you're going through just pressing any button, like the wipers are on. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just tuning up the engine. Like,
oh yeah, when I like get into my Honda Fit and I just am like, oh yeah, rev the engine. And it's just like,
right. Anytime I'm in my 2012 Hyundai accent, it's the danger zone. Because it's like, today the day that it just breaks down and on the 405.
It's a different kind of danger zone, but yeah, I'm there with you. My car's a 2008. Yeah. Like hope and a prayer.
Actually, you know what? That's something to dive into really quick. All artists have a crappy older car that they're gonna just try to hang on to as long as possible, right? But when you get the chance, what type of car are you going to pick up to trade in your bucket that's taken you so long for so many miles?
Another future bucket, like I mean, I'm such a I don't care about cars. Like if I could have a Flintstone cars and I'm like, is it have a 5-star safety rating? That's all I care about.
Yeah,
I just don't want to be like have my limbs fly off in a crash. That's all I care about. So I was like, oh, this 2014 Volvo looks nice. Like that was me looking for cars the other day. Yeah, no, it's going to be another thing that I'm going to drive until I'm, collecting Social Security, essentially.
I'm the same way with cars. Mine is infested with spiders on the outside.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
On the outside.
They eat bugs. They're good. They're friends.
They do. And so, and they're on the outside of the car. It's a detente. They don't come in. I don't go out there. Like I said, I went through the car wash. Tomorrow I will come out and they'll be back. Like they're survivors. So I'm like, look, you guys got your thing going on. If you have enough food to eat where you are, I want you to stay there because I don't know what else you're preventing from coming into the car. But I mean, I would like to get an electric car of some kind or some kind of hybrid. Because I mean, gas right now is almost $7 in LA.
Holy shit.
It's outrageous. So there, I mean, it is LA. There's a lot of Tesla pressure, and they are beautiful cars, and they're very smart. But I also don't care. In the same money, I get it from my dad. My dad is a runner, and he's like gone out running when we were like younger, and then he'll come back and he'd be like, "Well, I bought a car." Like, you were out running, and he's like, "I know. I passed by a gas station, and they had a car, and I just bought the car at the gas station because he's like, they know cars." Great. And so I grew up with beater cars. I feel like weird if I were to get a nice car.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like braggy. Like it feels just sort of like, why would I want to go? Why am I going to pick up my food from my Indian restaurants to go? And why do I need a car that's just look at I have money, or my car's so shiny. I was like, why? Who cares?
I don't ever want to be responsible for it. I don't want to care about it. So I don't want to be one of those people who are like, well, I have to go park away from other people because I don't want anybody to ding my car. The back of my car looks shredded because I lived in Brooklyn and had that car there. And it's going to get bumped around. It's just, and I like used cars because I like plausible deniability about who put those scratches there. I don't know, some of them must have come with it. Oh, so I don't ever want that to be a thing that I consider, but I would like a car that I'm confident is not going to break down. So that gets less and less cute. But apart from that, I don't think that that's like my big purchase.
Yeah. Well, I like asking people that question because you can really tell the type of person that you're talking to based off of that answer. Yeah, a lot of the finance guys that I know are, oh yeah, I want a Tesla MKW, whatever. Gee, you want $100,000 car? I'll take the little Nissan down the street as long as it gets me to where I'm going. Like,
they are very pretty though. I mean, it's like they're very cool. I mean, they do cool stuff, and you can, it has its advantages, especially in LA, because there's charging stations, and you can get it mounted in your house and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that feels like such a big purchase for me. I can't. It makes me feel weird. Yeah, and then you're somebody who has a nice car.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Katie, we can trick out your car with a body kit to go over it, so it looks like a Tesla, but it's not a Tesla.
Go on. Will it fix the fact that the oil just gets eaten in my car, and I have to constantly fill it with oil because the engine burns too hot?
Oh yeah. Well, if you go to Krispy Kreme, they'll give you the leftover oil they have, and it works perfectly, and it smells amazing. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
I could be the Krispy Kreme gal around, like, oh yeah, no, is Katie here today? Like, yeah, she's here.
Why don't you get your smell back?
Oh, you're right.
Oh yeah. Is she running late? Yeah, she's here. She's good. No, I love those answers. Wait, hold on. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we're good. No, I love those answers. Thank you for answering honestly and not saying like, I'll take a Ferrari or something just insane.
I mean, it's your money. You do with it whatever you want. Everybody has some stupid thing that they like to spend money on. Some people's cars, some people's electronics, some people it's, I don't know what else do like going to those like weird restaurants where you have a blindfold and it's $800 a plate or something. Like everyone has a thing that there's like, that's what I aspire to, that's fine. You do you.
I need to get better about that. I'm more of the like spending averse person. Like I don't that makes me like feel weird. I don't like spending. So, I mean, but I'll spend it on stupid shit. Like I'll nickel and dime myself into poverty, but I won't be like, oh, I can point to this thing that I bought that was expensive. It's like, I mean, maybe I'll go out to eat and things like that. But even that is like, yeah, I don't know where that comes from. Like it's either like I have enough or I don't have enough. And
is it Irish guilt?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing, at least right now as well. Being a little better with the money, but I mean, you're still paying up for those decaf lattes, right?
I mean, I like my decaf latte. I almost got one today because I was like, well, I have a live stream I'm going to do, and it's going to be later. I got an iced tea and a decaf iced tea instead.
I half expected you to have the cup ready.
I can't taste it. And it's already like a sugar bomb anyway. So
yeah, but I thought maybe like your brain, like that would be the healing factor to your COVID. Maybe is that decaf latte?
I feel like I've been blessed now, and I'm gonna go and get one tomorrow and see.
See?
Yes, that'll be my liquid death.
Oh God, yes. Sponsored by Liquid Death. Just kidding, Liquid Death. Just
thank
kidding.
you. Try that stuff.
I need to go back to the structure because we're having too much fun. There's no structure to this. Aha! No, we did talk about that. See, I'm just so good at this, right? Doing so well.
Just flying through your things.
I'm just flying through, like I said, it's been a long day. I do want to kind of dive outside of, we've been diving outside of work, talking about, dreams of more beater cars and decaf coffees. But what are you two doing right now? Obviously, Katie, you have COVID, so you're kind of stuck at home. But what has been helping you kind of relax a little bit? Anything new? Have you found any new hobbies? Any new music? What are you doing to just kind of like let go of the workday? Cait, I'm gonna make you go first.
Oh, well, I don't. God, I wish I had like a really eloquent answer for that. I sleep late.
Hell yeah.
Reading. I've been trying to play the piano, like to sort of. I was like one of those kids. I like played it along like as a kid, and then I took a 20-year hiatus. And so now I'm like using my free time to try to get back into it. And like my parents have a piano, and I'm at my parents' house right now. They're not here. I'm house sitting, but so I'm like trying to play and like, but you know, practicing a piano it's loud. It's one thing to play it. It's another thing to practice it. And you're like going like do 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 ding do over and over again. And I'm like, oh, the poor neighbors. Like. Yeah, no, but I'm just catching up on shows like that. I guess I don't know. Like, I wish I had a better answer, but I mean, I've only been out of work for like 3 weeks, so
Yeah.
getting ready to come on this trip was sort of ate up a lot of my time, and I've got another trip in August, and I've been doing planning for that. So,
Wow.
that's kind of it. Yeah, I'm boring.
What about your amazing podcast that I won't say the name of because you asked me not to last time?
Oh, you know, at this point, I don't even know if we're going to be doing another episode. So it's called Peanut Butter and Jelly Shoes because we're stupid. And we've been technically doing it for 9 years, but like we've been just sort of, you know, I don't know.
Busy.
We'll see. I hope there's another episode. I hope we do another episode, but it's just been, you know, the timing hasn't worked out.
I hope so too. I've been sitting here just Apple Podcast subscribe, just waiting. Keep seeing like 2021 on there. I'm like, okay, come on, Cait.
Yeah. I'll let you know if something's coming out soon, but you know, just be patient, extremely patient. So
all right, fine. I'll be patient.
That's it for me. I got nothing. I'm watching a cross-eyed dog.
Does it have any snaggle teeth, or is it just
all of the above? Wait, here, let me. I got
Yes. We want to see the dog.
Good boy. Good boy. He has an issue with his mouth, so his tongue is always out.
Yes.
So
on.
this is Andrew.
Oh,
Andrew.
He doesn't blink. He's just sort of vacant.
Oh my
Andrew, with your little baloney bubble tape tongue.
Yeah, so he's just so this is my job for the next week.
Oh wow, you know what? He's adorable. He's giving me a Poppins vibe for sure.
Very Poppins. Oh my god.
Yeah, he just kind of sits here. This is what he does.
Oh, I love you, Andrew.
Andrew, look, you got friends.
Andrew, your name is amazing and it fits your personality, buddy. Oh my god, I can't stop looking at him.
His eyes are like little black holes. Like it's just no light comes in or out. It's just
yes. He is the light. That's the thing. The sun isn't bright to itself. He's just projecting all of that light. Oh my god.
How old is Andrew?
We don't know because they got him. Well, no, because he was a rescue and he was an adult. So he's somewhere between 8 to 11 years old.
Oh my god.
So yeah, he's fine.
He's fine. You know what? He's fine. He's fine.
He eats and he poops and he stares into space, and that's his job. And that's all he does, and he's good at it. All right. Come back to the sofa. All right. Say goodbye, Andrew.
Bye, Andrew. Oh my god.
Oh,
he's such a mess.
That dog is.
What's Katie been up to?
My dog isn't here. I would show him to you. He's a little snaggletooth guy as well. His name is Scraps. He's such a nudge. I was like, you can't be here. Because he like sits up. That's his move. He like sits up on his butt, and will just hold that position. And so you're just doing something, and you just feel a presence, and you're like, ah. So I was like, I can't. It's too distracting. I couldn't have him involved with this. I am doing a bunch of yard work. Again, I'm kind of isolated, so there's not much I can do. And trying to be a responsible citizen. So I have like a little backyard area that was not in great shape when I moved in. So I'm slowly but surely getting that together. I've been listening to the Magnus Archives, which is a podcast, like horror stories, which I'm not a huge horror person, but they're like, these are more like spooky. And I think it just ended, it started in 2016, and I think it just ended pretty recently. So there's a bunch of, they're weekly, so there's a bunch of episodes. So yeah, they're fun. Some of them are really, it's I don't know, they're just spooky enough that it's kind of like, ooh, that's gross, but not enough that it keeps me up. I can't do true crime. I'm not a true crime person.
Yeah.
So this is like, it's just spooky enough. For somebody that lives alone. And with a dog that's no help. And what else? Just trying to get into like doing some more reading. I got books at the library and they put them in a little paper bag for you. That's really nice on my holds. And what else have I been doing? That's the big stuff. Just trying to get outside. I mean, I can't like go to the gym. I can't do any of that stuff. So going out for walks, and it feels like I'm like back in like mid-pandemic life where I'm like homesteading and going for walks. Kind of like that's kind of the vibe. Clean up my closets. They look great. Yeah. You caught me on an off week. I wish I could say it was an off week. It's not that different. It's really not that different. I can't. I don't know what life I'm trying to say I lead, but
hey, that's also the purpose of this show, is that artists are also people too, right? Yeah. So, it doesn't, even if you live in LA, doesn't mean you have this crazy lifestyle like, oh, I'm writing till 6 and then, I'm just partying it up with one of the writers from Sopranos. Like, just it's a very like,
who would that be?
I don't know. I never saw The Sopranos. Like I never saw it, but the whole point of this project is to show that you guys are people, and this isn't like some upper echelon of, oh, you're talking to so and so, like, is that okay? Like, yeah, we're just hanging out. Like, this is a very informal live stream. I had a structure planned. It's not gone well, but it's been so much fun. Like, just give you guys a little question and just see what comes out.
No, I mean, writers are generally pretty easygoing people. We are definitely back of camera, so there's not a whole lot of. I don't know how much all we inspire. Like, I mean, having been around like people that are of a certain acting caliber and all of that, and it's like, even if you're at a party and those people are there, you're like, oh, even if you don't know who they are, you're like, that's somebody. They just, I don't know if it's like dermatology or like their clothes fit better or something, but you're like, there's just something, their teeth are really great. I don't know. You can just like a vibe with that you're not going to get from most of your writing staff. It's just a different feeling.
I will say it's the same way between actors and models of any agency. I went to a party at my agency in Denver, and all the models decided to huddle around the pizza area where us actors were wanting to go. But due to their general vibe, we decided we were just going to starve the whole party because we don't want to risk going over there and a model judging us for getting a slice of pizza. Like, I totally get I don't know what you're from, but there's something about you that just says like, yeah, I'm pretty cool, Yeah.
And then you just like go my writer thing of just like, but without me, you'd have nothing to say. So.
Yep. It's true.
So what are we going to do? What are we doing? What dance are we doing today? What are we doing?
Are you guys ever going to wield that when you're, as you go into your career, or have you had to do that already where you had to put an actor not in their place, but just kind of say like, hey man, like I can rewrite you.
No. I'm very grateful.
I'm all like, it's so collaborative. Like, to me, I don't like, there's so many, like, I mean, I don't know, Cait, if you've experienced this, but like, it's like, there's like this vague animosity between all the different departments sometimes where it's like, oh, like, the actors or the writers or the production office or whatever. But it's just sort of like, hey, none of us have jobs if one group leaves. So it's like, stop like nitpicking and just like we're a team, guys. Come on.
There is the idea of like nobody else understands what we're going through. So there is, which is nice because it does make you a team.
What was that?
Apparently I'm on like the main drag here. So like departments can get a little bit siloed, and because it's like, but you are so interconnected in a way that it can be like, well, I can't move forward until this person gives me what they're supposed to give me, and then I feel like an asshole because somebody is waiting on me, but it's not my fault. So you get that it's like interconnected, but also siloed in its own way, and I think that does help with the interdepartmental camaraderie, because then you always have the enemy is not within. You've got like you get other departments to kind of blame, but we are so interconnected, and it can't happen without each other, which is why like rap parties are great, because then it's like it's all over and everyone's like, oh my god, we did it, and whatever you kind of felt while it was happening is like its own, which is why everybody can relate to Office Space. It doesn't matter whether you work in an office or not. Yeah. It's like you can find yourself within that, like, oh yeah, I've got a TPS report I have to fill out for no reason. Every department has its own TPS report.
What is the writer's room TPS report?
I mean, like what Cait was saying about how like there's times where like the showrunner is pulled in so many directions, and you're like, I'm just waiting. I can't move forward without your approval, or or you get studio notes or something. You're like, they just don't get it. They don't understand, and like the studio's looking at it like they don't get it. They don't understand how much money this is going to cost us, and we're just like, don't put the bumpers up on my bowling alley of dreams. Like I need to be able to express myself. You're like, yeah, your expression is going to cost us $3 million.
Yeah, I guess like the notes like are the sort of, I mean, it depends on who you're working for too, because I've worked with some like networks or studios that like give like, oh yeah, like really solid notes that make everything better. But then every once in a while you get those people that are just sort of like, can we make her hair brown? We're 7 episodes into the season, and all of a sudden you care about this one character's hair color. That's like, it's just, you're like, okay, well, we're like, what? It's just like, yeah, we'll go do that. We'll go rewrite, like, or like one note. Instead of this whole series taking place in the desert, can we have it take place in the mountains? It's just one note. You're just like, that. It's about surfers. Like, okay, like I feel like maybe doing the notes is like the TPS report sometimes, but not always, but
sometimes like, did somebody just want to reply? Like, did they just want to, because their boss is not going to read their note. They're just going to see that they replied, and I think they get credit for joining the conversation. And like, see, remember me?
Participation grade.
Participation. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I gave notes. I did my job. I did the thing. And, because again, their bosses are going to be so busy. They're not micromanaging the notes that other people are giving. And all you know is that you got an email on a chain from this person. So it's like, oh, that's right. They do work. They're doing work. Are they?
Yeah.
Now sand surfing for some reason.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, I had a project I worked on that they like wanted to change it from taking place in the summer to the winter, and they kept saying it's just one note, and it's like, we have them going to the beach house, we have them going skiing, yeah, you're like, yeah, one note, okay. It's like
that makes it better. You're just saying one thing. It
haunts me, obviously. It will haunt me till the day I die.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like that is the definition of like, when you talk about like pulling threads, like you're pulling a very vital thread. I mean, we're not just talking about like, one little thing that's not going to matter. You're unraveling everything by just pulling one thread, and that's not one note. That's fundamental.
Yes. So yeah, that's my TPS reports, I guess, but
it sounds horrible.
Honestly, in the grand, it's not. It's really not. It's just like, it's always resolved. You always fix it, but like in the moment, you're just like, ugh, and then on the call, you're just like, yeah, sounds great. We'll take care of that.
See, that's what I was wondering, because that seems like a tipping point situation. After everything you've been through for the last couple months, weeks, days, then this happens and you're expected to just kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, well, we're going to talk about that. Okay, yep, have a great day. And then just curse up a storm when you hang up.
Which is also that, but that's the coworker of it, which is really nice, because then you've got your team to be like, oh God. I mean, hopefully you have a showrunner that's like, that has a relationship with the studios or whoever you're working with, that it's just like, we're not doing that. And you're like, okay. Or like, yeah, we got to do this, either because it's a good note or like they're not budging on it. So let's get back in there together and figure it out. And that's where like your leadership is really important. Kind of like they should know what battles to fight. And most of the time they're there to help protect you. And that's really helpful. Not always the case, but in my experience, that's been it. It's like you just kind of, it's like, oh no, we're not doing that. Or I'm going to push back on it. Or, I think you just get better at choosing your battles.
Yeah. Well, I think in the midst of this live stream, there's been so much that we've dug into that we couldn't get into for the regular podcast, right? Like just by way of letting you guys vent and just give all this wisdom information, and then also say what really irks you in the writer's room. But speaking of irking, I have people that are listening, I'm sure, who want to be writers in writers' rooms and want to work as writers. So I'm going to ask you this question that you love hearing so much. How does one get into the writer's room? How do they become a writer in today's industry? Now that we're post-COVID and, they're looking at either moving to LA, maybe they're looking for remote position possibilities. How would they navigate that?
It's that's a great question, because there's no one answer. There's like 100 different ways, but they're all elusive. So I took the old-fashioned route of being an assistant for like 12 years and then eventually worming my way in. But I've heard that that's not really a viable path anymore. So, I mean, I think nowadays with like the so many virtual rooms, like you can kind of be anywhere. Like if you'd asked me that 4 years ago, I would have said, you got to move to Los Angeles, because so often you'll get a job that says, great, you're going to start tomorrow. Bang. And you're just like, okay. Just like connections are key, like just meet people, talk to people, find that balance of being, gutsy and ambitious and but not overly obnoxious. Don't be like cold calling people that you've never met and just being like, hi, staff me. And you're like, I don't know you. Like, write, have lots and lots of samples. That's super important, obviously. I mean, I don't know. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy for me to say connections, because I have a pretty big connection in how I got into all of this. So, which is just nepotism. So if you can be born into a family that already does this, then you're in good shape. But it is also true, but that doesn't take away from the fact that like I tried really hard to get jobs outside of that relationship as well, just for my own, like I needed to prove that I could do it as well. And so much of that comes from like, I'll have, like from, connections, meeting people, being nice, like, but genuinely nice. Like, I think people can tell the difference in this industry. I mean, there's people that have talked about going to like WGA parties or like industry kind of events and are talking to somebody. And the second they realize like what level of writer they are, and if it's not high enough, someone will just leave the conversation, like just walk away from the conversation because like, oh, you can't help me. So therefore this connection isn't worth it. But it's like, you don't know who you're talking to. Like that person may be a staff writer, that person may be a writer's assistant now, but they're not always going to be. And if you're, you want to make connections wherever you can and be, be kind and be hardworking and all like your basic skills. I know people that have had success also through like applying for fellowship programs. So looking on studio websites and there's all kinds of like writer fellowship programs that it shouldn't cost you any money to do them. So if you're looking at programs and they're charging you money, that's not what you want to be doing. I mean, if you're looking for something where there's there's certain things that you could pay for, like writing coaching and things like that is one thing. But if you're applying for something and under the guise of them helping you and it's going to be costing you a bunch of money, that's probably not going to be a pathway to anything. But I have a friend who just did one through, did a Disney one. I know somebody else that moved up because they did one for NBC. I have a friend who's a director who went through the NBC directors program and now has been directing a bunch of episodes of television. And for her path, she did the fellowship, then did the shadowing program. And then she's just a good, hardworking, great person. And then people on set really liked her. So then from that, they asked her to come back outside of the program and do some directing. So it's like, it's who you know, but it's also who you are. And it would be nice if there was the one path to get in, but it's also kind of cool that it's not. So yeah, meeting people, joining organizations, just having stuff ready, have all your samples, be able to speak to it. And I think it's really important to call yourself a writer. So nobody wants to be like, so what do you do? Well, I'm trying to be, nope, you're a writer if you've got writing stuff. So be kind of confident about that. And then when you're talking with people and be ready to give the elevator pitch, because it does come back that people are like, oh, we're looking for something. And if you've made an impression with your, with who you are, people remember you and they'll remember and reach out when they need you.
Yeah. Both pieces of just amazing advice. Like it sounds weird to say, but it's always a little cliche when it's just one thing, like, hey, just keep writing. You'll get there. Like there's so many facets to getting into this. So thank you both for sharing that. Seriously. Like I think it's important for writers listening to this to hear that, especially now that COVID is kind of ramping back up and who knows where we're going to be in another year. It could be virtual, it could be taking a pause. I hope not. But no, I really appreciate, you guys taking the time to not only do this, but share those bits of wisdom. And I don't want to take up too much more because we just hit our time. So I'm really dropping the ball on timing today. I am going to start wrapping this live stream up because this has just been like a fun hangout. I don't think we needed a super formal interview style, as both of you have spoken to me before. It's not how I do things, but it's just been fun to kind of sit down with two writers who are working in the industry and just kind of jib jab and talk shop essentially, and then talk about, yard work or taking care of Andrew, who is now like in my mind forever. Thank you for that.
Andrew, I want to lock it with Andrew in it. I love him.
Yes.
I'm going to have to
exist. I'm jealous.
Cait, I'm going to have to doodle a little cartoon version of Andrew for you.
Oh, please do.
Live in my mind rent free.
Oh, gosh. He's special, all right.
Well, as we wrap up, I do want to ask you both if there's anything that you want to kind of give a shout out to during this episode, because we'll be on the podcast too. So if there's anything that, you want to promote organization wise, maybe something that you really enjoy, maybe a business you are working on, something you like, is there anything we can give a shout out to?
Season 3 of Mythic Quest will be coming out in the fall and really excited about that. Yeah, I think that's kind of like, that's the big thing. They're going to do a panel and a bunch of press at Comic-Con, which is coming up this weekend. So if you're in the San Diego area and have $1,000 for a hotel room, and I got a panel for you.
That's a sad reality. You gave me a couple flashbacks. Cait, how about you?
One thing I wrote on is filming. Another thing I wrote on is going to be filming soon. I don't know when anything's airing, so sometime within the next year, there will be a show starring Arnold Schwarzenegger that I wrote on Netflix. Don't know what it's called yet. Don't know when it's premiering. So yeah, and then Reacher season 2. Season 1 premiered in February, so season 2 maybe February 2023. That sounds like the future, but it's not. Ooh. So just watch just look at my IMDb page. There you go. Have fun. Knock yourself out. That's it. I got nothing else.
Well, listeners, I'll give you the link to her IMDb page.
You don't have to do that.
But I don't think we should give you credit. It's 11:30 for you.
Yeah.
I would be.
Yeah, but I go to bed at like 3. I'm like just waking up pretty much. I appreciate the sentiment, but like you're fine. Don't worry about it though.
Yeah. Had I known you were in Florida, this would not have started this late.
I'm fine. Don't
Well,
worry.
okay. Now that we've done the thing, we are calming down. We're gonna end on my favorite part to stop this current live stream. So if you're watching, the fun part's coming up. We're gonna do an awkward goodbye with both of you. Do you remember what the awkward goodbye is?
I remember how awkward I was about having to come up with something for the awkward goodbye.
Oh, I couldn't even edit the episode. It was so awkward. It was incredibly
It's just a dial tone.
Yeah. Well, refresh your memory. I'm going to do a silent Wayne's World countdown from 3. Then when I point, give me your best verbal awkward goodbye, and I will stop this recording. You ready? Just let's warm up the awkward muscles. This is what we're good at. Okay. We're getting awkward.
Yeah.
All right. And
Bye.
Hello.